Good evening and welcome to Face to Face. I'm Niresh Eliathambi. The elections are at the top of everybody's mind and in every conversation these days. And to discuss this and other matters is Mr. Shanakiyan Rasamanickam, Member of Parliament from the Batiklo district and TNA District President for Batiklo. Welcome, Shanakiyan.
Good evening, Niresh.
Now, elections are everywhere. Wherever you go, everybody is talking about it. Of course, we expect the election to be held sometime around late September, early October. And despite all the controversies, it seems that all systems are go for it. Would you agree with that?
It's good to be on face to face with you to speak about some current affairs. And in fact, elections seem to have taken over all discussions wherever you go, and I think it's important and it's healthy that people are looking forward to elections, or people are keen to see elections happen, because having elections is a fundamental part of a good democracy. So in a country where we've had a local government election which has been postponed, and a country that has seen a popular uprising, seen a mass protests happen where a president had to flee, and then we have a president who was elected through parliament. So I think it's the time has come now to again get a mandate from the people as to how they want to be governed. So it's good that elections seem to be getting the discussion, the topic or the debate about elections seems to be getting more and more momentum. And I think you very correctly said that we will see elections happen towards the last week of September, and what I gather is also that the elections most likely would happen before the beginning of October, because especially the meteorology department has predicted some severe rains and even floods in the latter part of the first week of October. So I feel that the elections will happen prior to that. And there are various discussions and various narratives about how elections may be postponed. I only wish that they are all just conspiracy theories and that the elections would actually take place, because like I just mentioned, elections is a key pillar of our democracy. So getting whichever candidate that the public chose, the public need to have that opportunity to decide what's best for them. If not, I think there'll be more chaos in this country, because when your democratic right or your franchise is obstructed, then obviously that will cause chaos within the country.
Well, conspiracy theories abound, of course, in Sri Lanka, and hopefully they are all being swept away, and the path to democracy should be fairly clear. Shanakiyan, now in this election, where the NPP and the SJB are the largest contenders, there is a very clear issue of where the minority vote will go, and that is not to say that all minorities will vote in the same way. There is a huge difference between, let's say, the people of Jaffna town versus the people of Trincomalee versus the people of Batiklo. But this seems to be an opportunity for the minority communities to make their voice heard and be decisive in this neck and neck race. What are your views on this?
Well, Niresh, I see three main contenders right now. The current president, His Excellency Ranil Wickremesinghe, and then the opposition leader, Mr. Sajith Premdasa, and Mr. Andrakumara Dissanayake, the leader of the NPP. Now, I see all three of them as contenders at an upcoming election. And in terms of the three candidates, if we look at them as three candidates, if we start off with the NPP, the NPP, I think, for the first time in this country's history, are seriously competing. In general, you see them as a their vote base or their ideology is just them contesting, or the vote share that they get is just how would I say, just shows that there is a certain section of the people who are of that particular ideology. But it's a stark difference this time that you see the JVP's popularity has increased significantly in comparison to the 2019-20 elections. So they have obviously taken a very strong position on anti-corruption and and how they would govern. And of course people are also of the view that some people are also the view that that they have tried supporting the two main parties. Obviously SJB is a breakaway of the UMP, and then SLPP is a breakaway of the SLFP. So people are of the view that they have tried both these parties, tried voting for both these parties, and maybe we should give an opportunity to the NPP, because obviously let's give them a shot. So that is one candidate, and I'll come to what their positions are on the Tamil issue. And then obviously the opposition leader. The opposition leader, in fact, has had a significant vote base even in the previous presidential election, where the 6.9 million versus 5.5 million. So obviously the 5.5 million votes included other parties like the TNA's vote, the SLMC, even the TPA, that's the estate parties under the leadership of Manu Ganeshan. So if you take away all these voters, I don't see the SJB's vote base reducing from the previous election. If at all, if there is an increase in their vote base, I don't see them, because I think in 2019 it was, the 2019 election was the whole theme was national security. We were just after the Easter Sunday attack, and it was a different situation. So if the SJB could get 5.5 million votes at that time and reduce, subtract the votes that the other alliance parties may have contributed, I don't see the SJB having lost any votes. If at all, they've increased their vote base. So that is in terms of the SJB. And then obviously President Ranil Wickremesinghe, in the most recent surveys and polls, clearly the government's approval rating has increased. President's popularity has also increased. So we see a very very tight race amongst the voters in the southern part of Sri Lanka, or the rest of Sri Lanka, or at least in the mindsets or in the voters' minds of the Sinhala voters, if I may put it that way. But obviously the Tamil-speaking voters, now the Tamil-speaking voters are not just restricted to the north and the east. You have almost a 1.5 million, around 1.5 million Tamil voters who are from the north and the east, who live outside the north and the east, especially right. Colombo, Gampaha, and even the other districts like Kandy. They don't fall within the category of Tamils of Indian origin, but they're Tamils, Sri Lankan Tamils who live outside the north and east. So now this particular voters who live outside the north and east, it's different in a parliamentary election. In a parliamentary election, they may pick a candidate from the district. Doesn't matter what the people of the north and the east do, because obviously the Tamil National Alliance or Tamil parties who represent the north and the east don't contest outside the north and the east. So in that case, they actually support whoever they prefer within their district in whatever national party. But when it comes to a presidential election, there has always been a trend where the Tamil voters, the Tamil-speaking voters who are from the north and the east, who live outside the north and the east, kind of resonate with what the decision of the Tamil voters in the north and the east make. So all the candidates who are in this tight race are fully aware of that. Why I say that is we've seen a highly unusual number of visits from all three candidates to the north and the east. His Excellency the President has visited many times, even to my district. Even this previous Saturday he was in my district. So the leader of the opposition was a few days ago was in Mena. AKD or Mr. Andhra Kumar Dissanayake has made many trips to the north and east. So they are aware of the importance of the...
Just to break in, are these visits effective, or is it viewed with a certain amount of cynicism on the part of the voters that okay, an election is coming, so we have these candidates coming in, but what have the candidates actually done for the people of the north and the east, and is it simply more promises which just can't be believed.
Well, Nilesh, it's you're very correct in saying that, because when an election comes, candidates come to the districts. I mean, even within a parliament election system, that is the case, because candidates actually, unless they get elected, they can only visit you during election time. And what else are they going to do when there is no election? And the people are also not going to sit around and listen to them unless there is an election. So, which is a very valid point that you made, which is something that we have also raised, and we have also told His Excellency the President in our previous meeting. The promises, from, if I may start from where I stopped before you intervened, all three of these candidates, when they visit the north and the east, have given some promises. Now, President, I beg your pardon, it's opposition leader and Mr. Andrakumara Dissanayake have never held national, the actual big office. They've never been president or prime minister, and they have never had the opportunity to, even if let's say they are genuinely, whatever promises that they make, that they're genuine and that's what they intend to do, they haven't had an opportunity to for anybody to say otherwise, because they have never held government office. They've never held power. They've never had the power to implement whatever they're promising. So they're well within their rights, I think, to come and promise whatever they feel like that their plan is. So in that sense, Mr. Andrakumara Dissanayake has not very specifically, not very clearly specified what his solution for the Tamil issues are. Now, when you say Tamil issues, Tamil people have all the problems that every other Sri Lankan citizen have. On top of that, there is a issue of power sharing. That is a issue, that's a bit of an identity issue that the Tamil people have. So, all Sri Lankans have similar problems which the Tamil people have. On top of that, they have a problem of power sharing. Now, on this power sharing matter, the NPP hasn't officially announced what an exact solution. Now, if you are going to become the president of the country, you better have a clear plan as to what you would do. Somebody who is unlikely to become president can say, we want to solve this problem. So now, if you're actually serious about getting the votes of the Tamil people in the north and the east, and the support of the Tamil people who live outside the north and the east based on the Tamil people's decision from that area, they need to be very clear. In that sense, when Andrakumara Dissanayake and his team met our party leaders at the Jaffna Martin Road office, I don't think they gave a very specific solution, but they had said, the 13th Amendment is not a complete solution. We need to find a proper solution. So there's a little bit of a confusion on our part as well, and the part of the public also, as to what their solution is. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has mentioned full implementation of the 13th Amendment, no 13 plus, no 13 minus, full implementation of the 13th Amendment. Now, about this also, about police powers and land powers, I think people have put forward the question to him as to what your position is, and he has said full implementation, no minus, no plus. So, in that sense, we assume that he is for the full implementation of the 13th Amendment, but I did see another member of parliament from the SJB contradict that statement at a press briefing in Colombo. So we are not very sure, and I don't think the opposition leader has since then spoken about this, but we will definitely speak to him about this. Now, different to both of these candidates, we have President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who is right now the president, who has the power, who has the majority of the parliament, who has passed more than 75 odd laws within parliament in the last few months. Now,
that's quite a lot, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I suppose, but the point that we were trying to make was, you have passed this many laws. If you are very serious about solving some of these issues that the Tamil people face, which are only specific to the Tamil people, then right now, whilst you are in power, why don't we get a start on them? So then you are ahead of the other candidates.
Absolutely.
The other candidates can only promise, because they have the excuse of saying, well, we haven't had the power to do anything. If we come to power, we'll do it. But we've told the president, you're in power. So if you want to get the votes of the Tamil people, then do some, show us by your action. So a few things that we suggested to him that he could actually undertake was the Provincial Councils Act. So the provincial councils currently is in a bit of a limbo because of a constitutional amendment or a change that they tried to make to the provincial council law in 2017, where they wanted to make the provincial council system also from a PR system into a mixed system. For that, there needed to be some delimitation done for boundaries of electorates. So because of that, since 2017, there is a bit of a problem within the law to have provincial council elections. So what we suggested to the president was, you undo that. And to undo that, we have given him a way. Honorable MP Sumandiran has proposed, submitted a private member's bill to Parliament, which has gone to the Supreme Court, and it is now now ready if the president wants to take that up as a bill to actually pass it. So if they pass that bill, then president is giving the Tamil people, a bit of a hint, or he's giving a sign to the Tamil people to say, look, I am serious about holding provincial council elections. I'm serious about these elections happening. So if whilst he is president, he can't also be promising like the others, saying, if I become president again, I can do that, because he's already in power. So that is one thing. Then again, we've also suggested, president himself, in one of our discussions, suggested to us that they intend to give back some of the powers that were taken away from the provincial council. Now, when the provincial council bill was passed in 1987 and the provincial councils came into existence, a large number of powers were vested within the provincial council. But since then, successive governments have slowly taken back, powers from the provincial council back to the central government, by which they have made the provincial council a bit of a inefficient administrative structure. So we have, president himself said that he wants to give back some of this power that was taken away from the provincial council. So now we have said, okay, whilst you are president, president has managed to pass a lot of controversial bills within Parliament, that have gained a lot of criticism amongst the public. Through their parliamentary majority, they have managed to pass it. So what you have suggested to him is, do this as well. Then you can tell the people, hey, look, these guys can only talk. These guys are promising to do it if they become president. Well, I'm doing it right now, so why don't you? They're not promising anything more than what I am going to do right now. So that is one thing. So
what matters is deeds, not words.
Well, precisely. And the difference between the three candidates is that two of them can only provide words. Only one person is in the seat to do the deed. So, and that is one thing. So I think the Tamil population also, they are voting also when it comes to a national election like a presidential election. They don't look at, I'm not saying that the other parts of the country people are more looking for gains for themselves, but it is true that on a stage candidate may announce Sahanadara for subsidies for farmers, or free giveaways for fishermen, but in the north and the east that doesn't work. People actually look at what the solution is to the Tamil national question, and there is popular support for that. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that it is going to be the first time since 2005 that we are going to see an election without a Rajapaksa. So
an interesting point indeed.
2005, 10, 15, 20, there has been a Rajapaksa. So the Tamil mentality, I think 2005 was slightly different, because in 2005 the civil war was still underway. So I don't think the politicians really had any say in how the voters voted in 2005. But 2010, 15 and 20, all three elections, the Tamil National Alliance has played a huge significant part in the voters' decision, influencing the voters' decision. So in 10, 15 and 20, all three elections, there is the other candidate was already a little ahead in terms of the Tamil voters, because Tamil voters are likely to vote against a Rajapaksa. So they had all the candidates who were contesting against the Rajapaksas had a edge when it came to the Tamil voters, because there was no Rajapaksa, rather there was a Rajapaksa to vote against. But this time, with no Rajapaksha, people are going to actually look at what the other candidates are going to offer. And one more thing is, with the NPP, there is a little bit of a there's a little bit of a suspicion also amongst the Tamil people, because in the 1987 when the Indo-Lanka Accord was done and the provincial councils came about, at the time the JVP wasn't supportive of it. And in 2005 also, up until 2005, the North and the East was a merged province. It was one province, and only thing that stopped that merger being permanent was the holding of a referendum.
Right.
So every year they had to extend that or delay that referendum by a year. But in 2005, it was the JVP at the time, whilst they were in the Rajapaksa government, who went to court to get it permanently demerged. Now, the Tamil people are also aware of that, and they are very little sensitive to that. But having said that, JVP of 2005 and the NPP of 2024, they at least their paint that the picture that they've painted or they're painting is that they are very different to the JVP of the past. So these are things that that will influence.
Have to be considered in this matter.
Correct.
We will cross over for a short break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Voice Kids Kiruladino Aslam Roshange Palamu Geetaya Spotify Apple Music YouTube Betulo Obage Priyatama Sangeeta Sevawan Harha Rasa Vidinna Jangamudurakatana Jale Osse Obe ringtone එක ලෙසද activate කරගත හැක.
Entertainments. 2024 ජූනි 19 වෙනිදා ආණමඩුව මූලික රෝහලේ අඩුපාඩු රැසකට විසඳුම් දෙමින් රුධිර කාන්දුකරණ ඒකකයේ අලුත් වැඩියා කිරීම, රෝහලට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෛද්‍ය උපකරණ ලබා දීම, වෛද්‍ය ශ්‍රේණියේ ප්‍රති ආශ්‍රිත ජල පිරිපහදු ගොඩනැගිල්ලට මුල්ගල තැබීම ඇතුළු ව්‍යාපෘති රැසකට මුල පුරයි. කම්මැද්ද රට නගන ජනපෞර.
The Symphony Orchestra of Sri Lanka proudly presents Romantic Masterworks, an enchanting evening of romantic-era masterpieces conducted by Dusyanthi Pereira, featuring Dr. Jonathan Guest on clarinet and young Sri Lankan pianist Dhiren Fernando. 27 July, 7 p.m. onwards at the Lionel Wen Theatre. Tickets available now. Electronic media sponsors: Yes 101, Legends 966, Newsfirst and TV1.
If you want to create your life, create it. Is your opportunity to change your destiny. සඳහි දක්ෂිණ ද්‍රවයට ගොඩ පැසූ අතර මේ ඔවුන්ගේ චන්ද්‍ර ගවේෂණයේ පළමු මෙහෙයුමයි. Bring us this Witness Season 4, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on TV1.
The Symphony Orchestra of Sri Lanka proudly presents Romantic Masterworks, an enchanting evening of romantic-era masterpieces conducted by Dusyanthi Pereira, featuring Dr. Jonathan Guest on clarinet and young Sri Lankan pianist Dhiren Fernando. 27 July, 7 p.m. onwards at the Lionel Wen Theatre. Tickets available now. Electronic media sponsors: Yes 101, Legends 966, Newsfirst and TV1.
Welcome back to Face to Face, and we are in the midst of a very engrossing conversation with parliamentarian Shanakiyan Rasamanickam, who represents the Batticaloa district. Shanakiyan, now we were speaking of the 13th Amendment, and now this is a time when various parties are going to court and quibbling over a word here, a word there of an amendment. However, we have the 13th Amendment, a full amendment which has not been implemented. It was passed, it has never been repealed. So it's part of the Constitution, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was in 1987 that this was passed, and it's been, my goodness, 37 years and it has not been implemented. So whenever governments see fit to ignore the Constitution, they do so, and I'm talking about successive governments have ignored the Constitution. But all of a sudden, of course, the Constitution seems to be very important when it comes to this particular election. Now, we spoke about the NPP stance on the 13th Amendment, and of course the stance of the SJV candidate and President Wickremesinghe himself. but it remains to be seen whether anyone will implement this 13th Amendment or add to it or repeal it or whatever. But certainly just ignoring the Constitution when a party feels like it isn't the done thing, is it?
Well, the provincial council elections provincial council has been functional. The last provincial council that has become, the elected body has ceased to exist was in 2019. That was in the Ua province, I think. And I think maybe a little few months before that, the northern province as well. So, I mean, it would be incorrect to say that the 13th Amendment hasn't been implemented at all. It is the full implementation. So all powers that were agreed upon on the 13th Amendment haven't been given, is the problem. So if we say that the 13th Amendment hasn't been implemented at all, then the provincial councils wouldn't have functioned.
Right.
So right now we have a situation where there are 9 provincial councils that are administered by governors. So
who are appointed by the president.
Appointed by the executive. So the whole idea of, we are opposed to the entire idea of having a governor at all, because that we see as interference of the centre in the province. But even if we were to turn a blind eye towards the governor's role in the provincial council, now there is no checks and balances in the provincial council system. The governors have all the power to decide upon what happens in the province, from let's say from local governments to teachers, ministries of the provincial council to provincial health officers, to everything is all the powers are vested under governor. So it's not healthy to have one person. It's like having a country where there is only a president and no parliament. It's not the same, but if for somebody who is it's an easy comparison to how the provinces are functioning right now. So I think these elections coming and people promising these things. So Gotabaya Rajapaksa was of the view that provincial councils must be scrapped because it's a white elephant, and all these Vihatmaga people wanted the provincial council gone and all that. But I think he very fast understood that the provincial council system is here to stay. It was a product of a agreement done within 2 countries. It's an international agreement done where the government of India intervened in 1987 to come to a solution for the Tamil issue. So if any leader is of the view that they can discard this provincial council and repeal it, I think they will also realize that that is not something that can be done, because generally when you make an international agreement, you can't very easily just discard it. So I think we need to make sure that there's a large number of things that the provincial council can actually do for this country. Now, if you look at, I'll given many a time I've spoken about this, but for the viewers today, if I may say a few things. Now, if you look at agriculture, let's take one topic or one subject. Let's take agriculture and fisheries, because most of our population's livelihood depends on agriculture and fisheries, apart from the government staff and the private sector. So for agriculture, one policy for the entire country for agriculture will definitely not work. Because if you look at the central province, the central part of Sri Lanka, the agriculture requirement or the policies are completely different to what would be required in the north. And the agriculture, because even if you look at the monsoon season, if you take one blanket policy for the entire country and say, hey, look, harvesting, sowing period will start on this date and harvesting will start on this date, that will be a huge crisis that will happen, because different parts are different from the crops to the seasons to the weather to everything is different. So provincial councils actually having the agriculture being fully vested under the provincial council can actually increase the output in the agriculture sector in the country. Now, if you look at my province, for an example, the eastern province and the central province are both the Maha season, that is the bigger season where cultivation is done based on rainfall. The eastern province, the cultivation season starts around October. and the harvesting happens around January. But whereas the Polonnaruwa district starts much later, so the sowing starts much later. So the central government decides to issue fertilizer subsidies based on the date of Polonnaruwa, because Polonnaruwa, so I mean, I don't know why that happens. That needs there needs to be a change in policy, but it doesn't happen. So, which is why you see the farmers of the eastern province protesting every year, because when they need the fertilizer, it's not available. When the harvesting happens, the government is not ready to purchase the paddy from if the government is about to purchase. So that is just one simple example. If you look at the upcountry doesn't have paddy fields. Noralia district, I mean, they may have a few, but Noralia district's agriculture would be mainly tea. And you need to have specific laws that will increase the output of the tea cultivator. The provincial council has a part of actually passing legislation also. It's not just an administrative function. So new laws. Now if you look at the fisheries sector also, you speak about trawlers in the Northern Ocean. If I go to Batiklo or Matara and speak about trawlers, the fishermen would think that that I'm speaking of something that doesn't relate to them. Right. So if we are to pass laws pertaining to the eastern province, the issues of the fishermen in the eastern province are much different to the issues that are faced from the southern province. So
local issues require local government bodies to take decisions.
I'm just saying, I'm just trying to explain how this provincial council system can actually increase the country's output in terms of economy as well. Where some people you just look at it as a waste of money, because today it has been made into an inefficient system by successive governments that have taken out powers that were vested within the provincial council. Now, even if you look at tourism, I've said this many times, if you look at tourism, the southern belt from let's say from Colombo all the way up to Hambantota now is highly overpopulated. The backpackers, Airbnbs, boutique hotels, bed and breakfast places, and actually star class hotels, they're massive amount. But if you look at the northern part of Colombo, barring Nigambo, it's dead. There are a few hotels here and there. So now one way to use the provincial council to make these areas, have their own tourism plan. If you look at the northwestern province, I mean, they could pass legislation to increase the number of people who come to invest in those areas by giving them different sorts of subsidies or making different arrangements that are unique only for that province. Now, if we take a global, rather national policy decision on something like that, the already overpopulated southern part will also get the same benefits, and people will come further, a larger number of people come further south as opposed to north. So I'm just trying to say how this provincial council system is a system that different layers of governance is important. You can use it positively. The local government, the provincial government, if all these cooperate together and work closely and work contributing, positively supporting each other, the actual public will get a much better service. Now, one last example, I'll say that and wind up. Now, if you look at teachers, some teachers, imagine if all the teachers were managed by a national government, half the teachers will half the time teachers will end up spending in Colombo. If everything was done by Isurupai. Even at present, having only a few national schools, Isurupai is one of the most inefficient places that you see. Some of the additional secretaries and secretaries actually are clueless about what their functions are. So, and one more example, even when the COVID-19 crisis happened and there were lockdowns and bus lockdowns, etc., in the western province, children couldn't actually commute to school, so the schools were shut down. Not because of COVID, the schools were shut down because of the lockdown, right? But in the northern province, schools, let me correct myself, during the economic crisis, when there was no fuel, schools in Colombo shut down because children didn't have a way of, not COVID, children didn't have a way of commuting. But in the northern province and the eastern province, all schools functioned, because their general standard mode of transportation is riding a bicycle or walking, because there's no public transport anyway. So if we had just a national system at the time, unnecessarily the students of the Northeast and even Munragal, etc., would have had to shut down. So there are benefits of it. It's just that successive governments and politicians have tried to make this into a political slogan, or like a, now if you, as soon as you talk about 13th Amendment or Provincial Council, you see a large number of monks coming and burning the constitution, you see a large number of monks, giving statements, you get the, jokers like Vimal Veerawan, Sudhir Gammampila, getting on stage and, talking about all sorts of absurd, theories about how this country will no longer be a Sri Lanka and that it will be part of, that it will be two countries. So, because of these jokers, the provincial council system unfortunately has been made into an inefficient system, which can actually be converted into a positive thing for the country.
Now, we spoke at length on provincial councils and local government, but now the presidential election which is coming up, has the TNA made a positive decision on which candidate it would support, or is it still discussing with all candidates?
Well, Niresh, TNA has not made any decision as per se, and TNA also, I must tell you that TNA also has three political parties. So we have the TELO, the PLOT and the Ilangai Thamarasa Katchi, the ITAC. So I am part of the ITAC. Mr. Sambandhan, Mr. Sumandiran, late Mr. Sambandhan, Mr. Sumandiran, myself, we are all part of the Ilangai Thamarasa Katchi. So as the ITAC, we haven't even made an announcement about anything about in relation to the presidential election, but we have seen the TELO and the PLOT, which are also constituent members of the TNA, have been flirting with the idea of a Tamil candidate for presidential election, and the thinking behind, and obviously Mr. Vigneshan, who is not part of the Tamil National Alliance or us, he's completely different political party, but along with him, the TELO and the PLOT have discussed, or they've been having discussions about fielding a Tamil presidential candidate, and the logic for that is to say that no Sinhala candidate who has gone on to win and become president have delivered on or kept their promises, so why should we bother? Let's vote for a Tamil candidate, to say that it's almost in a way saying that we are boycotting the election, or we are not going to support any of you. It's in general just to make a statement, because obviously with the number of votes and in today's context, I mean, one day in the future there may be a time where the majority community may also consider voting for a Tamil person, but in today's context it's very highly unlikely that a Tamil person can actually win a presidential election. So
the TNA stance on that would be that there would not be a Tamil candidate.
No, what I was trying to get to was the TELO and the PLOT have been discussing this. But as the TNA, we have not taken any decision, and as the ITAC also, we haven't even been looking at this Tamil candidate thing at all.
Right.
Whereas the part of some of them have been discussing, we haven't even been part of that discussion at all. Because my personal view is that Tamil candidate is a terrible idea, and that will polarize the Tamil community, and we must in a tight race like this, where there is a need for the Tamil voters, or where there is a need for the southern candidates or the presidential candidates to attract the Tamil votes, is a good opportunity to actually get things done. So I mean, when I say get things done, these are not deals or anything anything that is against the Sinhala people. These are things that are very progressive and that need to be resolved. So as the ITAC, the Ilangai Thamarasa Katchi, we have not yet made any decision about any presidential candidate or supporting any candidate or a common candidate for that matter. And but as personally, I feel that in this election, we need to look at. We shouldn't look at just the candidates. We should look at what is it that they have, what their plan is. Now, in 2019, the entire country voted, rather majority of the country voted for national security. 2015, it was for good governance. 2010, obviously, Mahinda Rajapaksa won the election, so it was almost, there was no real, reasoning for voting. Mahinda won the election, so majority of them voted for him. So, but in 2024, I think, all these rhetorics have been tried and failed, or tried and used up. Now this election, I think it will be for reviving the economy, or something along the lines of connected to the economy will be what the public would be looking at when they vote. So I think it's as individually, I feel that it's important that we also
those are just slogans.
Yeah, without actually being stuck on slogans, we want to actually see the action plan to achieve these slogans. So that's corruption is one thing, and even for economy, to bring in foreign direct investments, people can, I saw some candidates talking about creating economic zones. Now, to create an economic zone, okay, what is the plan? How are you going to attract investments? What are the concessions that you're going to give? Are you going to give concessions? So, I think as citizens, we all need to be we need to look in detail as to what going beyond the manifesto. So in that sense, I think there is a little bit of a vacuum in the country also, because every politician, every party has a candidate or is supporting a candidate. So in that sense, the Tamil National Alliance or the ITAC, we are still neutral. We haven't made a decision. So I think we may take on that role to create that dialogue and that discussion amongst the country, because obviously when we go to the public and we put out a statement or we bring things up, our opinion is not going to be biased, and there is no ulterior motive for us, or we are not going to get benefit from it personally, because we are not going to contest. Our party is not going to contest. Our party hasn't endorsed a candidate, so we are still neutral. So if we can create that space for the public also to start asking these questions, then we may as well see the public also start asking these questions, and then the candidates may also say, okay, look, we need to respond to these questions. So that we're trying to thinking of creating that space for the public to also engage in this dialogue.
Right. But Shanakiyan, now the presidential election is probably about 2.5 months away. That's a very short time frame. Would the TNA take a decision within the next few weeks?
2.5 months, Nilesh, is a very, very long time in politics.
Well, so it seems to be rushing by. I think October will be on us very quickly.
Yeah, but the Tamil National Alliance or the ITAC is mainly the party that has a grassroots level structure. So the TELO and the plot, if I'm not mistaken, they don't even have their district level organizations, right? But the ITAC, as opposed to that, we have a very well organized grassroots level structure. So now my district, for an example, where I am the district leader for the Batiklo in ITAC, so we have 3 electorates, so we have 3 committees for the 3 electorates, under which we have 10 divisional secretariats, so we have 10 divisional committees, under which we have 130 wards, a ward that where local government ward, so we have 130 wards that have 15 member committees. So if you look at our structure, I can disseminate a message within the Batiklo district to almost 1,600 cadre of the party within 24 hours of a decision. So for us to, and for them to, and there onwards, they have their own structure. So the previous elections also, I think it's only maybe a week before the election where we have announced a decision, or we have maybe we haven't announced, we've shown a green light to one candidate. So I think as far as we are concerned, as far as the North and East is concerned, 2.5 months is a long time. Anything could happen in 2.5 months. So we are yet to see what the 3 candidates have to eventually give us concrete information on what their plans are. And also,
well, let's look further down the road, perhaps. Shanakiyan, now the general election is likely to follow soon after the presidential election, and of course one of the demands of the public for several years now is that fresh blood needs to come into Parliament. Now you yourself, you're a first term MP and one who is in your 30s, so you certainly fall in the area of a young leader, but the cry has been for a lot of the older MPs to go out and the new set of MPs to come in. What's your party stance on that? What is the ITAC and the TNA stance on bringing new people as nominees?
When it comes to a parliamentary election, it's kind of not that easy to bring in all new people. Now, if I'll take my district for an example. We can only have field 8 candidates. So
right.
when you can field 8 candidates, since we are an alliance, the Tamil National Alliance, ITAC, which is my party, which is the main party, out of the 8 candidates last time, we got 5 candidates. The alliance partner Tello got 2 and the plot got 1. So the Tello and the plot would obviously say, they will give it to their senior most leaders because, they'll say we only got 2 or 1 seat, we can't accommodate more people. So within the 5 people that we get also, we have to ensure that electorally based on votes, we have to accommodate people from all 3 electorates and different backgrounds. All that needs to be accommodated. So in that situation, that is one of the situations, or that is why it makes it little hard to accommodate a lot of new people. I think I was quite lucky to get nominations last time because I think the average age amongst our candidates, I was 29 when I got nominations. The closest to me was around 55 or 56. The next person who got nominated, actually there was a lawyer who was a little younger. But definitely we need to bring in more people for the party, and I have always tried within the party, and I was very successful in the local government election. So I think our average age in the local government election was between 25 and 35 was the average candidate's age. Obviously there were senior party members also, but unfortunately that election never happened. So I have always been I have walked the talk of accommodating more and more young people. In fact, I even had a 20-year-old female candidate who was put up against to compete against a much senior person from another party in a ward. So I have always tried to accommodate that, but when it comes to a parliament election, it generally is a little tough because the seniors also don't want to not contest, and I think it's along with fresh blood, it's also important that we get more women involved.
Absolutely.
In the last parliament election in Batticaloa, out of the 8 candidates, we didn't have a single female candidate. But obviously, when I say female candidates also, being a female is not only the requirement to become a candidate. So there are some candidates who some women who've asked for nominations from our party, and our party denied them nominations because you need to have to get nominations from a political party. You need to also be able to work with the party. Some candidates sometimes may feel that being female is the only box that they need to check to become a candidate. So our candidates need to be able to work with our party's ideology and our party's future work plan. So these are we are very aware of it, but overall within the party's structure, I'm not as powerful as I'd like to be to change these things. But within the Batticaloa district, obviously I'm the president of the district committee. So with local government, I was able to do it. But when it comes to parliament, when I'm contesting as well, then there'll be a little bit of a I wouldn't get a free hand to ensure that I can bring in more fresh people, but definitely something that I'll try to do.
Now, your party has traditionally stayed out of the governing coalitions, and so has not been present in cabinet. That's sort of been a policy. But would that policy change at all in the next general election? Because after all, if you have 2 or 3 cabinet ministers, then you may be better able to serve the people of the Northeast and the minority communities throughout the country rather than being outside of the cabinet.
Well, Niresh, this being in cabinet or being part of the executive in a central government obviously will help in resolving the common problems that the Tamil people face, which the other communities face as well. Like in my first question I said, Tamil people have all the problems that Sri Lankans face, all Sri Lankans. To address some of those problems, cabinet ministries may be a way of addressing some of them, not all of the problems. You can't, obviously if cabinet ministers can solve problems, the southern part of the country should have no problems. right? So that's getting cabinet doesn't mean that you are able to solve all problems, but some of it can be solved. But I think, it's important that, the power sharing arrangement also takes place, is important. I think if the power sharing arrangement is functional and it's working, then obviously if I don't see anything wrong with you being working with the center and the provinces as well. But without a power sharing agreement, or where there's power that's being shared, I don't know how much. That's more of a decision on principle that our party will have to take. So like I said to your previous question, I'm within the entire party's hierarchy and the structure, I am not very powerful. I'm not able to influence the party to that extent to say, we should take up cabinet portfolios or we should join a government. Obviously we can raise our concerns, but also between the 2015 and the 2020 period of time, I think when the parliament was changed to a constitutional assembly, I think TNA also played some sort of role in the governance, even though Mr. Sambandhan was the opposition leader. There was some arrangement where that you could work with the government, but obviously with Gota there was no chance. He denied us a meeting. He didn't even want to meet us for 2 years. After several requests, he denied the meetings. And I think when the protests hit a very serious note, that is when he wanted to meet us. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think our mandate that we get from our people, the mandate that we got in the 2020 election was not to join a central government, not to take up cabinet portfolios. The mandate that we got was to resolve the power sharing issue. So at an upcoming general election, if we want to do something of that sort, we will have to get the approval of the people. So we'll have to tell our people that if you vote for us, that there may, if we are thinking about it, without getting the mandate of the people, I think it will be unethical for us also to go against their mandate and say, we can't say vote for us to ensure that we achieve a power sharing arrangement, and then we can't then betray them and do so. I mean, there are various politicians who do that. They get elected from the SJB, and then they go to the public, speak against the SLPP and the Rajapakshas, get elected from the SJB, and shamelessly cross over and support the Rajapakshas in 20th Amendment has happened. But I think as a party and as members, we don't want to do something unethical like that.
Right. And on that note, I'm afraid we are out of time. Mr. Shanakiyan Rasamanickam, it's been an engrossing conversation. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. And thank you very much to you at home for watching. Don't go away, the news is coming up next. Have a good evening.